everyone. Welcome back to She Blurbs podcast. Today's guest is Matthew Hughes. Thank you so much for being a guest on my show today.
I'm very glad to be here.
So, can you tell our listeners a little bit about yourself?
Okay, I'm Canadian, and I'm a science fiction and fantasy and crime fiction author. I've sold an awful lot of books, a couple of dozen of them, and lots of stories in the magazines and anthologies. And I've been referred to as the best kept secret in science fiction.
Wow, that's awesome. So, when did you first realize you wanted to be an author?
Oh, back when I was a teenager. But I didn't. I made a living as a writer all my life, but mostly for 35 years I was a speechwriter for politicians and corporate executives because they would give me lots of money.
Wow, that's amazing. So, I wanted to talk about your book, What the Wind Brings. Where did you get your ideas from?
Okay, it's a long story. I'll start at the beginning. Way back in about 1971, I think, I was in university. I was reading a textbook about how cultures connect with each other and clash and so on. And I came across a footnote about it was a Spanish ship with African slaves on it that was shipwrecked on the coast of Ecuador in the middle of the 1500s. And the slaves got off and mixed with the local indigenous population and formed a new society. And then it worked. And I thought to myself then, that would make a great historical novel. And from time to time, as life went on, I tried to research it, but most of the scholarship was in Spanish language in South American academic journals, which my Spanish is, donde está la pluma de mi tía? That's about it. Yeah. But in this century, North American academic scholars began to look at this situation and what happened and the history of it and the people behind it. And then I could get actual research. So I went to the Canada Council for the Arts and said, could I have some money? And I'll just write this book. And they gave me a big grant. And I sat down and I did next to nothing for a year and a half, except write this book. And I'd waited more than 40 years. So it had been kind of gestating in my head. But once I got the research, I knew who the characters were because it was people from real history who were doing these things, and I had to weave them into a novel.
Wow, that's amazing. And how long did it take for you to write that book again?
Well, I did 4 drafts of it, and it's 150,000 words, a big one, which is like twice what I normally do for a fantasy or science fiction novel. And I think it took me all told a year and a half before I was really satisfied with it. I've written lots of novels, and they are entertainments. They got a little bit of philosophy in them and some daring do and action and comedy and all that. But this was a serious work. This was the one I would like to be remembered for.
Wow, that's amazing. So on your website that I link below, we can purchase that book that you wrote?
No, go to Amazon or go to my publisher. The publisher is Pulp Literature Press. They're a small firm in Canada, in British Columbia. But you can get it from Amazon, or you can get it anywhere ebooks are sold, or you can get a paperback from them, or you can go into a bricks and mortar bookstore and say, I want that book, and they will order it for you. There's a hardcover as well as a paperback.
Wow, that's amazing. So can you tell our listeners about your newest book coming out, Barbarians of the Beyond?
Okay. Yeah, I got to start at the beginning again. Back in the 20th century, there was a very famous and very good American author of science fiction and fantasy. His name was Jack Vance. He came from California. And in fact, sad thing, he died 8 years ago today. I was just thinking about that. But he lived to a ripe, good age. But he wrote wonderfully different science fiction and fantasy. It was not your normal kind of stuff. He had a distinctive voice and a style that nobody else has ever really equaled. And he wrote space opera, and he also wrote fantasy. And he really is not to be missed. If you're a science fiction fantasy reader, you really ought to read Jack Vance, because he is unique, and he stands above most of them. Anyway, I'm writing a sequel, or a companion novel. I have written it, to one of his most famous works, which was a series of 5 novels called The Demon Princes, which is not about demons or princes. They're actually 5 master criminals, really bad guys, who got together and did a terrible crime in a space opera kind of universe. People flying around with spaceships, and they got blasters and stuff. Wonderful books. It's about a guy who, one after another, tracks down and deals with these 5 evil people who did a terrible thing to his family and community. Um, Now, Barbarians of the Beyond is a novel I've written. It's an authorized sequel, and it's about one of the children of the survivors of the great crime, which was like a slaving raid that these people pulled off, who escapes from slavery in the beyond, which is the wild part of space. It's not civilized yet. It's like the Wild West. Um, and she's out to reclaim a hidden treasure that she can use to buy her parents free from the pirate who owns them. And so she comes to their home planet, where they were taken from, looking for this thing that's been hidden away, this MacGuffin. Um, and then things don't work out the way she hoped they would. And so then you have a story. And I won't say it has a happy ending or a not happy ending, because I want people to read it. But it's called Barbarians of the Beyond, and it will be available as a paperback and an ebook, I'm told, before September 1st.
That's
I've just
amazing.
I've just proofed the typeset, the composition, and there's an artist who's reading the book right now, so he can do the cover. So all the steps are being followed that will get this thing out.
That's amazing. So, what inspired you to write these novels?
Well, it's the only thing I know how to do really well, except speech writing, and I got fed up doing that after 2,000 of them. It's just, when I'm writing short stories, novels, doesn't matter. When I'm writing fiction, especially, I am more myself than at any other time. It brings me together, integrates me. All the different weird parts of me come together into one comprehensive whole. And while I'm doing it, I'm perfectly me, which is a nice feeling.
That's amazing. What was your hardest scene to write and why?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, we're talking 2 dozen novels and 90 short stories. There's an awful lot of scenes.
Yeah.
Um, I think the one that most got me was actually the final scene of What the Wind Brings, where my hero, as much as he is a hero of the story, uh, he dies.
Oh,
And then it's what happens to him after he dies, which I found, since I am getting to be an old man now and thinking about it's going to come for me one of these days, it was something to write that. It felt good. It felt, all the words you used, felt real. It felt honest. It felt engaging. It got me. I think it gets the readers too, because I've had people tell me they come to the end of it and they read that and they have tears running down their faces. So,
oh man. Yeah, I'm definitely gonna have to pick that book up.
oh, it's a
I
good book.
oh
I've been trying to get Hollywood interested in it, because they talk about diversity now being a big deal.
mhm.
This is a book in which all of the characters are either African, Indigenous American, or Hispanic. There's no white folks in there at all, really. I mean,
Wow,
yeah,
wow,
I mean,
that's
it's Ecuador. Ecuador, after the conquistadors conquered it, there was Hispanics, the Indios, and the Africans they brought in.
Have you ever pitched the idea to any producers or anything? Like I interviewed a filmmaker. I interviewed her a few months ago, and I would definitely like pitch the idea to a few producers and stuff like
Well,
that.
yeah, I had a few copies. You know, the author always gets some copies from the publisher, and they weren't doing me any good because, uh, well, you know, what am I going to do with 6 copies of my own book?
Mhm.
I'm a house sitter. I'm always traveling, so I don't take books with me. I shed everything and we go to the next house sit. But I looked up the names and addresses of a half a dozen prominent African American producer directors in Hollywood, and I sent them, or really sent their agents, a copy of the book and said, "Have a look at this." That was a couple of months ago. I haven't heard anything back, but you know, that's Hollywood. It
Oh,
really needs an agent. It needs an agent to push it. And
yeah.
right now, I don't have an agent.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
true. That's true. Cause I know with me being like a podcaster, I really I go and I like message a few people. I can't believe I got a filmmaker to interview with me. So that was pretty cool. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Cool.
every
Yeah.
once in a while I may get someone who's been in movies or someone who has a TV show out or something like that, but it's rare.
Yeah.
But what advice would you give to help others who want to pursue a writing career?
Writing what? um,
Books.
if you want to make money at it, the
Yeah.
best bet is to write for people who are willing to give you a lot of money for what you write. So for me, like speech writing, my last corporate rate was $200 an hour. I was really good at what I did, and they CEOs of billion-dollar corporations don't blink twice if you say, "Well, it's going to cost you 2 or 3 grand." They say, "Great, get it done." And that's where the market is. You know, writing for corporations. If you can stand it, um, and I could stand it. I had children to feed, so I did it for years and years. But that's the way you make money. If you want self satisfaction and you want to write fiction, then don't expect to make a lot of money at it. That's all. Do it because it fulfills you. And if you make money at it, that's great. It's the same as if you want to make furniture. You make beautiful furniture. If you make money at it, that's good too. But you're really happy just doing the work.
That's true. That's true. That's great advice.
Well, do what you love. Yeah.
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
you do what you love, you may never get rich, but you'll be better off in many ways than if you did something you hated just for the money.
Exactly.
And then
That's
look
what
back.
I tell them.
You look back after 40 years and say, you know, all I got was money. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Yeah.
agree with you. That's great advice. That's really great advice. I want to thank you so much, Matthew, for coming on my show today and allowing me to interview
Oh, it's been great fun.
you. You have a great day.
And you. Bye bye.
Bye. So I want to thank you all so much for listening to my interview with Matthew Hughes. So his novels that we just talked about, you can purchase at his website, link down at the bottom, or you can go to Amazon and purchase the first book that we was talking about because I don't think it has it on his website. So you can go to Amazon and purchase it. And on his website, you can see all the books he's written and the ebooks and the paperback books, and you can purchase your books that way. You can learn a little bit more about him through here. You can become a supporter of him. So I hope you all really enjoy this interview, and I hope you all have a great, wonderful day. Bye.